post-game show presented by Auto Trader. Sarah Wall, Shannon Box, Becky Sauerbrunn, Julie Foudy with you as we get set for this trophy presentation as Japan takes the SheBelieves Cup 2-1. Nina Tanaka is your Visa SheBelieves Cup MVP. Look at the numbers there, 4 goals. That actually ties her with Mal Swanson for the most in a SheBelieves Cup. She did that in 4 goals in the first 2 games, so an incredibly impressive performance for her. Julian, we talked in the pregame show about how you're going to stop her, but Japan as a whole has been fantastic this entire tournament.
Oh my gosh, the level they bring in terms of, one, their sophistication offensively, which you saw, and then their organization defensively, where they made it just so hard for the United States to get any type of rhythm. It was so hard to get possession. It was so hard to string 4, 5, 6 passes together. And I give them a lot of credit because they put numbers around the ball. They put numbers around the ball quickly. And then you have a player like Tanaka who is holding the ball. She's defending. She's getting in the box. I mean, she has all the different aspects. You tick every box off. She had a phenomenal tournament.
Look, I don't want to make excuses, but we'd be remiss to say that the United States wasn't missing some very big names, including Naomi Girma there on defense. Becky, without Girma and with young players, assess what this defense looked like tonight.
Yeah, I think this back line got a little stretched, a little disjointed. I think at times, the center back and the outside backs were getting pushed outside the width of the goal, and so you're getting isolated in the box. And so I think when they look back, I think they're going to look back at the positioning. They're going to look about the timing of when you step out of the line to when you need to stay in the line. I'm sure communication will also be something that's brought up. Was there communication to the midfielders, to the people on your own line? So there's a lot to look at, but I will say I think they're going to look back and see they did do a lot of things well as well.
Clearly the United States wanted to win this game, but Emma Hayes has made it a point. She wanted young players tested, and that's what they got, Shannon.
Yeah, this is a great environment. I mean, she's definitely stated, like Julie said at the pregame, is testing, doing it in a tournament style, needing it to matter, putting the pressure on them. This is a great team for them to play against. I mean, if I go back to Japan, just their midfield, Hasegawa was somebody who I felt was, they were just pulling people in and out. Same thing on that defensive line. So it was a good, hard game to play, but I think very important for Emma to see who could play under this pressure because of, how much they defended.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a good sign.
Absolutely. And, even when we said, why no Tierna Davidson in that starting lineup? And she said, I know what Tierna Davidson gives me, right? I don't know what a Tara McKeown in this environment gives me. And so I respect that because this isn't the time you need to be winning the SheBelieves Cup. You need to be developing players, as she says, talking about that next wave so that when you have no triple espresso and no Naomi Girma and Rose Lavelle, and you go down the list of players that are missing, that you can eventually have that backup player that can step in, and there's not a loss in terms of level for this U.S. team.
I'm just looking at these pictures of Emma that we're seeing, and she said, look, I don't like losing. And then she said, I don't do it very often, right? That's not a position but the breaking news here is she's not going to go undefeated in her tenure as the leader of this team. So, Julie, you know her very well. How is she going to process this?
Well, you can see her. She's not very happy on the...
She doesn't love that medal.
I was just watching it as we were talking. She was just kind of giving high fives. But no, I think she understands this is so part of the process. And as you talked about, Becky, in the pregame, that it's not a win at all cost situation right now. More importantly is that development side of it. So I don't think she'll be pleased they lost, but she understands there's a process to this and there's a means to the end.
Furthermore, we talk so much about how Emma had such a short time span to work with her team, and then she takes them on a gold medal run. You're looking at Japan's coach there, and his run to leading them to the SheBelieves Cup, something Japan has never done, was even shorter than Emma's span that she had before this team went to the Olympics.
Yeah, and that I talked about that at the end of the game, what Niels Nielsen has done with 3 games. I mean, hired in December. This is their first foreign-born coach for the Japanese national team. And Shannon, you talked to him before this tournament even started. Tell us about that, because that was fascinating as well.
Yeah, what I loved about what he said is, one, we asked him, why did you pick this job? And he said, because I love everything about what Japan represents in the way that their culture is, in the way that they play, in everything, in the tradition of this team. And I think he also said that he really wants to come in and really build off their strengths. I think in the past that they weren't really feeding off what they were strongest at, which was that possession style. The Olympics, they never were the top possession team. And so he wanted to get them back to the team that they used to be before, and he wants them to win a World Cup and an Olympics.
Yeah.
When we talk about the youth programs and what you were saying, and we were kind of joking about Emma didn't look heavy there, but she's doing so much behind the scenes that obviously you're not seeing here at the senior national level. But Becky, just in the short span, I mean, you've been retired for 2 seconds now, and some of the changes that she's making, though, to this program, and when this team gets together again in April, it's not going to just be the senior national team. She is making it a point to bring along these up-and-comers, the U23. She says she wants to evaluate 50 players at a time at these training camps, which is a difference from when you were playing.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaches will always say, you know, we need to develop this player pool. She's really putting her money where her mouth is, and she's wanting to do these futures camps with the U23s, making sure they're having actual scheduling, full-time coaches, everything. And so it's a real concerted effort to develop the youth, because as we see from this Japanese team, you know, Niels Nielsen is benefiting from a group of players that have played together through the youth stages up to the senior level, and you can see it makes a difference on the field.
You can see they're about to hoist the trophy here at Snapdragon Stadium. Japan, a 2-1 winner over the United States. All they needed is to draw in this game, and the trophy would have been theirs. They did it in convincing fashion, a 2-1 victory. They have every reason to be celebrating. They have been fantastic this entire tournament. They have put teams away early and often. And just when we talk about how early they scored, Julie, should we talk about this? Should we talk about their fast start? Yeah, they continued that.
Oh my goodness. I know. I looked at Luke Wildman on the call and I was like, oh no. Exactly what we were saying we didn't want to happen for the United States. And I think that's part of the Niels Nielsen beauty of this too, is he's meshed the possession style that is inherent in this Japanese national team for decades with that direct, organized, compact defense, but also willingness to go direct if you need to be. And that worked great as you see them holding up their medals.
We have much more to come on this Auto Trader post-game show. Emma Hayes is going to join us here at the desk. Japan on top of the United States, 2-1 winners at the SheBelieves Cup. Emma Hayes coming up next.